Hey guys, welcome back, and in today's video I will be giving you an introduction tutorial on how to get started with auto layouts on Figma. So in order to give you an overview of what auto layout is, and even more importantly why would you ever need or choose to use it, I picked the simplest UI element to explain this, which is a button. Now, a button is used across mobile or web applications, and it is also the most important element that you probably are going to be creating a lot of variations of, and that is the precise reason why you need auto layout. So in here we have a simple button, and if you work at a production team, usually design gets messy when you work with team members. You might need more than one type of button here. So let me just quickly drag this button here, and my bad, let me just quickly drag this. Let me click the frame, and I'm gonna drag it by pressing Alt, and I am going to change its content to learn more. And you can realize that right now we are not centered anymore, but even worse is if my text was longer like this, I would be out of the bounds of the button. And this is not good, because what this means is every time you are going to have an input as a text in the button, like a text label in the button, that is different or longer or shorter, you will have to adjust your margins, how it's situated, but also they might go out of bounds. This is one of the main reasons why we actually use auto layout, and the way to use it is I'm gonna drag this frame by pressing Alt again, and the way to actually make a frame have auto layout is you go to the right side panel and you click on this plus sign. Now the auto layout is added, and what I want to do is, let's say we want to have it specify the padding for left, right, top, bottom, and let's say we want to do 24, 24, 12, 12. This gives me precisely the power of here. Let's say instead of button we do learn more, and the button, the rectangle, adjusts itself to my text input here, which is so powerful because you do not have to fix these style things anymore, such as if your text label was a certain width you would have to adjust, and this will save you a lot of time, especially when you are working on production code. Now this is not the only use of auto layout, but it's the simplest example I could think of to explain to you. And now we will actually go and actually design basically a homepage of a business consulting company where I will show you other uses of auto layout. Now let's get cracking with designing the landing page on the left side. To actually center the frame I'm going to design on, I'm going to press Shift 0. Oh, sorry, Command Shift 2. Yeah, sorry, Figma was bugging a bit. And I'm going to begin with the navigation here, where I'm going to create a new frame, and it's going to have the width of a 1440, which is the width of a normal desktop screen, and I want it to have a height of 42 pixels, and I want it to be complete white, yes. And in this navigation frame, I'm gonna name it top navigation, and in this frame I want two main things: page links and a logo. And the logo will be very simple, guys. It's honestly, I'm gonna write biz growth, and I'm gonna get this to be maybe 24 pixels, 24 pixel height, and I want the first part of it to basically be, and I'm gonna get this to be auto width, and I want the first bit of it to be light, and I want the second part here to be extra bold. Voila, and that is our logo. Now let's create the page links. So to do that, I am gonna press I'm gonna select my frame again. I'm gonna press the hotkey T for text, and I'm gonna write home here. I want this to be auto width as well. I want this to be 16 pixels, and Command B to unbold it. And that's my text link. And to actually make copies of it, I can press on Alt and drag. And the second thing I can do is I can do Command D to repeat this spacing and copy at the same time. I'm gonna adjust these, and what I want is actually to put these page links also in a frame, so we can use Autolayout. If I haven't mentioned this before, the only way for it to use Autolayout is to have a frame. It won't work for group, so I will do the shortcut of Alt Command G, which will create a frame, and I'm gonna rename this frame page links. And you can have frames inside of frames that also have auto layout, so the parent can also have an auto layout here, and the child here, the page links, will also have an auto layout. And I'm gonna add an auto layout here, and what I want to have the auto layout is it will let me adjust the spacing between the items. So each home link here I can do 24, boom, and then I can make this about and courses. And I don't know why these became light, but they aren't supposed to be. I think Figma is a bit bugging out here. And I want this to be 16 pixels. Alright, so now that we have home, about, courses, the home is selected. So I'm gonna click on home, and I'm gonna fill it with the blue color here. And I think it has this circle that shows that it is selected. It's the page you are on, so that's probably 4 pixels. And I'm gonna pick the same color for the circle, and I'm gonna actually move this inside here, and I'm gonna group home and circle there, and a simple group. And I'm gonna move the circle down here, and I want these to be middled. Yes, that's perfect. And now we are doing pretty good, so our links are done. So the next thing we will do now that we are done with these links is actually align the logo and the links here. And I want the logo to be on the left hand side, and I want the page links to be on the right hand side. And the best way to do this now on Figma is actually to have the, again, you guessed it, the top navigation of auto layout as well. So, and that is actually a bit wrong, so I don't know why it adjusted that way, but what I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to have 72 on the left side, 72 on the right side, and I want this to be spaced between, and I want this to have the width of 1440. So what I did right now is, with the left and the right side, I picked the margins the left side and the right side could have. The second thing I did is I chose the spacing. So if it was packed, basically the elements on the entire space between these elements are not filled if there is space here. But the moment I say space between, what Figma will do is, between these two elements, after the paddings are adjusted, it will just fill everything with the space. And the third thing I want to do is I want these to be centered, and I don't want to use these keys here. And what I can do is I can just get these to be on the center, and boom, the logo and the page links are all centered. And voila, and they will keep being centered even if we add new elements to the page links here. And that is the reason it's so beneficial to do it this way. You are reducing the work you would do in the future, because design will be updated. Probably you might have new pages. Now that we solved the navigation issue, we can move on to the hero section. And to do that, I am gonna press on F to actually create a frame here, and it's gonna have width of 1440. It's gonna start at the x0, and I'm gonna adjust its height here, and that's pretty good. And I'm gonna have this frame have a background, so I'm gonna press on a rectangle, and that would be 1440 as well. I want it to have the frame's height, so that's roughly 600, and I want the frame to be 600 as well, and I want this to start at, yeah, roughly there, maybe 42 pixels just after the navigation. And now I want to add a background image to this rectangle. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the top menu and I'm gonna click on plugins, and I'm gonna use my plugin, one of my favorites, on Splash. And so I don't need to go to my browser, so I'm gonna pick on business, and I already know what I'm gonna pick. It's this third one here. I click it, and let's see, it should load anytime now. Oh, let's try one more time. Alright, so double click, it sometimes bugs out. And so now we have this background here. What we can do is we will create a new rectangle, so I will press the key R. And this is around 400 pixels to 600 pixels. And I want this to be actually outside of this. Because we are inside the frame, it will never, the bottom of it will never be outside of the cut point there, and it will be painful. So I'm gonna make this a frame as well. So, but first let's actually style it a bit. Let's get this color filled, and let's make it have a radius of 16, nope, more, maybe 32 pixels. And let's adjust it here, so maybe 72, more than 72, maybe 102. And I'm gonna frame this as well with the shortcut of Command-Alt-G, and value prop frame, and then I'm gonna copy and paste these texts here so that we do things a bit faster. And so one of the things I can do here is I will actually also, and I'm gonna grab the button here as well, and that's my button. And right now the button isn't a frame, so we will need to do that. But first, one thing we can do is, so one of the things that we can also use the auto layout is for vertical aligning and spacing. So far with the navigation we only worked for horizontal. Let's give this the frame a auto layout value so that it will have the same magical powers but vertically. Boom. So did you see what happened there? I'm gonna Command Z just so that you can see. So do you see the button here that is not in the alignment, the learn more button? I'm gonna zoom in actually. So right now we don't have and I'm gonna press Shift R to show you. So right now we don't have the alignment yet, right, with the text and the button. And we can use our design elements here to do this, but things would also get out of hand if the button's content would change. If it got longer, we would have to adjust it, and that's why using an auto layout to align things is also so powerful. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna give this top frame an auto layout, and boom, now it is left aligned every element, because in the vertical direction, that is the general way, and you can always change this. You can get this to center, but I don't recommend it. Left is good, and you can also adjust the paddings top, right, bottom, just like the horizontal one. And I want 24 pixel left, 24 pixel right, 24 pixel top, maybe 72 below, more than that, maybe 96. Boom, and now we are doing pretty good. Next thing I want to add an auto layout is this button, because right now it doesn't have superpowers. If I add new text here, it will go out of bounds, and we don't want that. We want this to be scalable. So I will actually get this text out of this group. So, and what I will do is I will frame it now with the shortcut Alt Command G. So now they are in a frame, and I'm gonna move this to here for center. And so now what we can do is, and I have to adjust the frames height here a bit. Perfect. And now what I have here is, because I have the auto layout again. Oh, my bad. I didn't give the frame the auto layout yet, but let's say button here. And what I can do is I'm gonna give auto layout here as well. And I'm gonna pick it to be 24 pixels left, 24 pixels right, 12 top, 12 bottom, and probably maybe 20 radius. Yes, that looks pretty good. And what this will give me is, it will let me actually have a very scaling button even if I change its content, which is pretty good. And I mean, I like this button more. We could have made it more rectangular, but I like the circular shape, so I'm gonna keep it. Right now we have to make this button padding a bit more to match to the left side here. So I'm gonna click on this menu to align and padding, and I'm gonna make this 120, and that looks pretty good. I think our radius is also 16 maybe. Yeah, so that looks pretty good. Maybe 144. Oh, my bad. Maybe 144. No, 120 is good. And yeah, I mean, the next thing we can do is we are going to go to the courses section here, and I'm gonna begin with the text, some of our best courses, and I'm gonna pick this to be, I think I'm using their Roboto, yeah, 48. Make this height 48 as well. I'm gonna single line it, and I'm gonna bold it with the shortcut Command B, and that's pretty good. And then I'm gonna begin creating this card of the courses. So what I'm gonna do is I am gonna press on F to create the frame, and might be around 240 in terms of width maybe. And I'm gonna give this a fill of maybe not complete white, maybe 98. Yeah, I'm gonna give that one. I'm gonna give 16 pixels here. And what I want this basic frame to have is card. I'm gonna rename it card. And what I want this to have is basically an image, a description text, and 2 buttons. So I'm gonna have it have a rectangle here. So to add text here, first I'm gonna change the font size to 16, and then I'll let it work, and let's say 16 std. And to add actual text, I'm gonna click here, and I'm gonna go to my plugin here, plugins, and I will pick Lorem Ipsum, and I will generate 5 sentences, sure. And that is 5, and maybe 5 is a lot. And I will get this to have auto height, so it will take the whole height necessary to have the all texts. And I think I will read some, because this is a lot. And I think I will give this a line height of 24 pixels to make it readable. And I'm gonna unbold it with Command B. And I'm gonna Roboto this as well as a type family, and that is a bit bigger, so maybe we went 14 pixels there and 21. Yeah, that looks pretty okay to me. And then another thing we can do is that we will now add the buttons. So I'm gonna grab the learn more button here. I'm gonna add it here, and I want this to be purchased. And again, if you were actually working on a project, you might have made these variants with components. And if you're actually interested about that, you can comment below and I can make a video about those as well. And I'm gonna make this have the color of here. And this is too big to my eyes for this size, so I'm gonna make this 8, and that's better. And I'm gonna copy this with drag here, and I am gonna click Shift X to change its values. So now, and I'm gonna go to the button here, and I'm going to go to the text here, and I'm gonna make the text have the same color as the blue we have for the rectangle here, and boom. And maybe we might do a bit more width here and here as well. Now we are missing a few things. This needs to have some radius. And I'm not going for exact replica, guys. I'm not going for an exact replica. I'm just designing something here. And I want the content of this to be learn more. And maybe even a bit more, right? A bit longer. And what we might try is 324, 348. And we might need to scratch this element here. Let's stretch this one. And let's get it here. Alright, so the thing I'm going to try to do now is, what I'm going to try to do here is basically having this spacing for these buttons, but I'm gonna do it with Autolayout to actually space them apart. But before I do that, I'm gonna add an image to this rectangle because it's hurting my eyes. I'm gonna right click it, go to plugins, and I'm gonna pick, as you guessed, Unsplash. And I'm gonna pick technology, and I'm gonna go find that laptop, which is this one. And I am gonna actually move these down a bit. I want this to have more size, maybe 120 pixels and 288. And then what I'm gonna do is I am gonna give a auto layout to this whole card, and that will basically left align things. And the problem we have right now, everything is left aligned pretty well, and I can now shift that so you can know. So I can go 24, 24, sorry, my bad, 24 top, 24 bottom, and everything is left aligned, which is pretty good. The only problem is, as you can see, our buttons are not horizontally aligned, and to do that we have to select both buttons and make them a frame, basically a child frame here, and to shortcut is Command Alt G, and then we can add an auto layout to that, and we can make this a horizontal one, and boom. And we want these elements to have a bit farther spacing, maybe 12 pixels apart, yeah, and that's pretty good. And we might have them a bit of top padding here so that we can separate them from the text, right? So now that they are a child frame, they can have a top padding here, which is good, maybe 16 pixels. And I'm gonna even make the text here a frame, so I can actually space, and you can see me space things as well. So I'm gonna have this have 12 pixels as well, maybe 12 pixels bottom, and so we don't need any pixels for the text. And yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's close that one, and that looks pretty good. I think one thing I forgot to do is to add that circle. the shift key to add the hotkey to add a circle is O, and then I'm gonna pick it here. I'm gonna make this 60, sounds pretty good actually, and I'm gonna let it have a full color of this blue, and that's pretty good. And I'm gonna align it basically center for both vertical and horizontal with the card frame. To actually add the gift icon to this circle, I'm gonna right click it. I'm gonna pick the plugins here. So I'm gonna go to the plugins, and then I'm gonna pick my feather icons, which is an icon set as a plugin, and I'm gonna write gift. I'm gonna pick this one, and it's not putting it in the element there, but I'm gonna put it here, and basically I'm gonna pick the circle and pick the gift and make them a frame. So now I can actually center the circle pretty easily, and I'm gonna give it a color of complete white. Perfect, now it's centered, and I want this to be maybe card content, because now I'm gonna group these two frames into a parent frame, and this is the circle, and I'm gonna basically frame these two, and I'm gonna write card. Perfect. And what I can do now is I'm gonna actually, to copy the other two, I'm gonna press Alt, I'm gonna move it here, and then I'm gonna do Command D to give it the same spacing. And now remember our text here and our cards, and what I wanna do is I'm gonna pick the 3 cards and the text, and I'm gonna frame them as well, and I'm gonna name this cards. And what I'm gonna do with the cards here is that I am gonna have it an auto layout, and that's packed. So what's happening? Oh, okay, my bad. So I am actually gonna I'm gonna get the text out of there, and what I'm gonna do is I am going to basically give it an auto layout, and I want it to have difference of 64 to adjust the padding, the difference between each card here, and I want this to be centered. And maybe what we can do is we can have a parent frame around this whole area section, so we can let that frame actually decide how things should look. So so this should work actually. So I'm gonna get this frame, and so I'm gonna get it to a frame, so course section, and I want it to have width of the entire section. I'm pressing Command so that the elements inside don't scale up as with the once the frame goes to full size. I don't want that to scale up. And now one thing I can do is I can add an auto layout here. It is vertical, and I can make things centered, and boom. So maybe around here, yeah. And that looks pretty good. So we used auto layout to basically size elements, let them scale better, and we actually use them for aligning things, whether it was for horizontal alignment for navigation and vertical for these cars. We used both of those, and this was a great intro. Thanks for watching this. Thanks so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. And if you haven't already, please smash that subscribe button, because I actually produce 2 videos a week. And if you subscribe, we can get in touch. You will get a notification from me, and see you in the next videos. Now, I actually added 2 videos at the end of this video where I believe it will improve your UI UX design skills on Figma even more. If you haven't watched them, please click one of them. I really believe they will improve your design skills.